Amaka had always been the woman people envied. With a respectable job at one of the top marketing firms in Lagos, a stunning apartment in Lekki, and a supportive circle of friends, she lived a life many only dreamed of. But what made it all perfect, in her eyes, was Tunde, the man she had dated for 3 years. Charming, ambitious, and thoughtful, Tunde was the kind of man who made other women glance twice. Their engagement had come during a surprise dinner at one of Lagos's finest restaurants, complete with a diamond ring and a crowd of strangers clapping in celebration. Everything seemed set. The wedding date was fixed, the hall was booked, and both families had started preparations. But things began to change subtly, like a storm creeping in beneath calm skies. Tunde became distant. He missed calls, avoided important planning meetings, and always had an excuse: work trips, deadlines, family emergencies. Amaka brushed it off, assuming he was just stressed from work. But then came the day that shattered her world. She had sent him a voice note, light, loving, filled with excitement about their honeymoon destination. But the message remained unread for days. Concerned, she called his number over and over, only to receive that cold, automated response: "The number you are calling is not available." She waited for a week, then 2. Panic turned into desperation. She went to his apartment only to find it locked up and empty. His neighbors hadn't seen him in days. Amaka began to fear something terrible had happened. But then, her friend Nkichi sent her a message that made her drop her phone. A photo of Tunde, grinning, hand in hand with another woman, standing in front of a wedding arch in the UK. The caption read, "Congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Adeyemi." He had gone abroad to marry someone else. Her knees gave way. She sat on the floor of her living room, staring blankly at the wall as tears rolled down her cheeks. How do you recover from a betrayal like that? How do you explain to your friends and family that the man you defended, protected, and loved had ghosted you to marry another woman? The shame was unbearable. Some friends called to comfort her, others disappeared. Gossip spread in the office. People whispered in the break room. She could no longer face her colleagues, her clients, or even herself in the mirror. Within a month, Amaka quit her job. She told her boss she needed time for herself, packed up her apartment, and moved into a shortlet in Ikoyi, where no one knew her. She barely left the room. Her days blurred into nights, her appetite disappeared, and her social media accounts went cold. The once vibrant, confident woman had become a shadow of herself. One rainy evening, in a moment of weakness, she decided to step out, just to breathe, just to remember what it felt like to exist among people. She put on the first thing she found, tied her hair back, and walked into a nearby hotel to sit at the lounge. She ordered tea she didn't plan to drink and sat by the window, watching drops race down the glass. That's when it happened. Her eyes welled up with tears again, her hands trembling slightly. She tried to wipe her face with a napkin, but it slipped. As she reached for her bag, a calm voice interrupted her spiral. "Here," the man said, offering her a tissue with a gentle smile. She looked up. A tall, well-dressed man with kind eyes stood in front of her. There was nothing overly flashy about him, but something about his presence was grounding, soothing. "Thank you," she whispered, managing a weak smile. He nodded, didn't pry, and walked away. What Amaka didn't know was that this small act of kindness was the beginning of a story she never expected. A story that would rewrite her future and prove that heartbreak wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. Amaka didn't expect to see him again, but she did. 2 weeks after their brief encounter at the hotel lounge, she spotted him at a quiet bookstore in Victoria Island. He stood by the history section, flipping through a hardcover with quiet focus. Their eyes met, and this time he smiled fully. "Twice in 2 weeks? Lagos is small," he said, stepping closer. "Or maybe fate has good timing," she replied, a little surprised at her own confidence. His name was Ada Tokunbo, but he told her to call him Tokunbo. Their conversation was brief but pleasant. He had a calming energy that put her at ease. When she left the bookstore, she couldn't help but glance back. He was still there, watching her leave with the same serene expression. Over the next few weeks, their paths crossed again, this time at a small cafe in Ikoyi, where she went to read. He was seated at the far end, sipping coffee and typing on his laptop. They shared a table, exchanged thoughts about books and music, and laughed over the awkwardness of strangers becoming familiar. It felt effortless. He never asked too many personal questions, never pried into her pain, yet somehow being around him made her feel seen without being pitied. Amaka slowly began to rediscover herself. She started dressing up again, going out, rejoining life one day at a time. Tokunbo encouraged her to attend a charity gala one evening, hosted in support of mental health awareness, something close to her heart. He was there too, looking sharp in a simple black tuxedo, and by the end of the night, they'd shared their first slow dance. She hadn't smiled that hard in months. Still, there was something unusual about him. He didn't talk much about his past or where he lived. No social media presence, no mention of family or work specifics. He seemed to move through Lagos like a ghost with deep pockets and powerful connections. Every venue they visited seemed to treat him with quiet respect. Valets rushed to open his car door. Waiters at restaurants addressed him like a VIP. When she asked, he simply said, "My family's a little traditional." Meanwhile, Tunde resurfaced online. His Instagram was full of flashy posts with his new wife, luxury vacations, expensive watches, and even a caption that read, "Real men don't settle for less." It stung, but Amaka said nothing. Her friends were outraged. "You need to show him you've moved on. Let him know you upgraded." Amaka remained silent. She wasn't interested in revenge. She was healing, slowly but sincerely. Then came the invitation. Tokunbo asked her to accompany him to a high-profile fundraiser at a prestigious hotel. The guest list included celebrities, politicians, CEOs. Amaka hesitated, but agreed. That night, she wore an emerald gown that hugged her in all the right places. When they entered, cameras flashed. People turned. She felt like Cinderella, but still didn't understand why the room shifted when Tokunbo walked in. Midway through the night, the MC paused the program for a special announcement. Tokunbo took the mic and stood beside Amaka. Her heart raced. "My name is Ada Tokunbo Adefolarin," he began, "and I'm honored to introduce not just myself, but the woman who has captured my heart. I am the Crown Prince of the Oke-Oluwa Kingdom." Gasps filled the room. Amaka froze. He turned to her, knelt slowly and pulled out a velvet box. "Amaka, will you marry me?" The cameras went wild. She stood there stunned, not because he proposed, but because for the first time in her life, someone saw her pain, her worth, and still chose her in front of the world. The morning after the proposal, Amaka woke up to a world that had completely changed. Her phone buzzed non-stop. Her name was trending on Twitter, and blogs all over the country carried the same headline: "Mysterious Lagos lady engaged to Crown Prince of Oke-Oluwa Kingdom." Photos from the event flooded the internet. Her emerald dress, Tokunbo on one knee, the stunned expressions of elite guests. For once, the spotlight wasn't a weapon used to mock her. It was celebrating her. Tunda saw it too. He sat in his hotel suite in Dubai, staring in disbelief at the screen. The same woman he'd abandoned like she was disposable was now the future queen of one of the wealthiest royal families in the country. His new wife walked past, speaking on the phone, unaware of the storm building behind his eyes. He zoomed in on Amaka's face in the pictures, confident, radiant, untouchable. Back in Nigeria, Amaka was adjusting to a new world. She was flown to the coastal kingdom of Oke-Oluwa, a breathtaking estate overlooking the Atlantic, where she was welcomed with regal ceremonies. Though it felt surreal, She didn't let the gold-trimmed halls or royal staff distract her from the life she wanted to build. She didn't want to be just a queen in pretty clothes waving from balconies. She wanted to leave a mark. She launched a foundation that focused on supporting women who had been abandoned, betrayed, or emotionally abused. Women like her. The foundation offered legal aid, therapy, and small business grants. The story of Amaka's betrayal and rise became a symbol of resilience. Invitations poured in for her to speak at conferences and appear on talk shows. She remained gracious, never mentioning Tunde by name, though the media speculated constantly. As months passed, Tokunbo, now her husband, encouraged her independence. He knew her strength was part of what drew him to her, and he supported her when she announced her interest in investing in urban housing for single mothers. She partnered with a major real estate firm that managed several properties in Lagos and Abuja. It wasn't until the documents were being signed that she realized the firm's newly appointed director was none other than Tunde Adeyemi. Their first board meeting was held at a skyscraper in Victoria Island. Amaka walked into the room wearing a sleek navy blue pantsuit, diamond studs in her ears, and a poise that made everyone pause. Tunde was already seated at the far end, flipping through his files, until he looked up and saw her. He froze. Their eyes locked. She didn't blink. The meeting began. She spoke confidently about the foundation's vision and the real estate partnership. Tunde, unable to focus, mumbled responses when asked questions. He watched her move with grace and command, commanding respect from the room without arrogance. After the meeting, he tried to approach her in the hallway. Amaka, She raised her hand gently. We're professionals now. Let's keep it that way. There was no anger in her voice, just clarity, power. As she walked away, her assistant handed her a tablet filled with reports, but Amaka wasn't paying attention to the screen. Her mind was calm. She had lived through humiliation and heartbreak, and now here she was, not just married to a crown prince, but living her purpose, walking in rooms that once seemed unreachable. Tunde stood behind, watching her retreat in silence. For the first time, he realized what he had lost. Not just a woman, but a queen he was never worthy of, and all Amaka could do was smile. Not in revenge, but in peace. Her story had changed, not because of a man, but because she refused to let heartbreak define her. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more teachable and inspiring folk tales by FE.